Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music, and I'm here in the front room with my grand piano because I want to talk about interlocking hands. It's a piano practice that I've been using for many years to get modally saturated textures. Six or five, six or seven notes from a scale, all working together, percolating. It creates a chordal texture that really is maybe a little bit more than a chord, and you can get saturated rhythms and harmonies out of it. Now, developing it as a pianist is a bit of a challenge, but you can do it. And I want to talk about that today. I also want to talk a little bit about the I guess melodic and harmonic, maybe some rhythmic as well, concerns that can come up and that are very interesting. These are things that even if you're not a really capable instrumentalist, you can still address as a programmer by having tracks with different rhythms and different interacting melodies. Well, I did 6 examples, and it's worth looking at those from a couple days ago. But today I want to kind of break down the concept. So let's dive in. Well, we're going to hear truck and traffic noise because my front room is not isolated the way my studio space is. I'm right on the street in a beautiful bay window, and it's where I teach piano. And I teach, 5-year-olds to, 80-year-olds. Now, I've been playing piano a long time, and something that I'm very interested in is this sound right here. I've got, say, a G major scale. And when I play all of those notes, I get what I call a modally saturated sound. My teacher used to call this pan-diatonic harmony. Pan-diatonic harmony, where, say, an A minor 7 chord and a B minor triad would work together to create all of the notes of the G major scale. It's a dense sound. Listen to this. It's a cinematic sound too. We hear these textures a lot in contemporary music, especially in film and game music, but it's beginning to make its way into pop music as well. My first example from this week was one of my own compositions, and I want to show you how I play it. It's a very simple D minor triad, and I'm playing it in the right hand. When you're playing this kind of thing and the hands are locked onto each other like this, I find that the thumbs kind of get in the way, so I want to avoid them as much as possible. So my D minor triad has an interlocking 2-note bass note. It's a beautiful sound, right? And they work together because 3 notes and 2 notes create a longer pattern. Now, I could just do them at the same time, like this. But I prefer to alternate hands to get an actual melody on the top. Listen to what happens with those 3 notes. Here we go. This is a classic example of what interlocking hands and the kind of an interference of periodicity can get you. It's a modally saturated sound. And if I add all of those notes up, I've got, this sound right here. And in a moment, I'm going to go down to the C. And now I have this kind of beautiful sound here. Beautiful. It's 6 notes out of, or 5 notes out of the scale. So my whole pattern, when I play it, sounds like this. Now you can hear it's got a interesting kind of constantly churning, almost mechanical algorithmic effect. Performing something like that might be a little bit challenging, but like I said, program it. The right hand never changes, it's just the D minor triad. For the second part of this particular piece, I take the left hand up to F and G. That's a kind of a 9th, and it's got that same D minor triad. So again, I've got, 4 different notes there. And now down to the E. 4 or 5 different notes, I don't know. So the whole thing together might be first the D pattern, and then the F pattern. Well, that's from a composition of mine, Subtle Edge, and it's a more involved thing, but fascinating and a great use of this kind of technique. Now, in my examples, my second example is how can I learn to do this? And the best way to learn to do something like this is to go at it with 2 notes in one hand and 3 notes in the other. Because 3 against 2 or 3 over 2 are common polyrhythms. So let's go back to our G major sonority here. And again, that's a modally saturated sound, 7 different notes. But the half steps are the notes that give us trouble as we manage modally saturated sounds. So let's throw away one of the half steps. I'm going to throw away the F sharp, and it leaves me with a G triad and an A minor triad, right? And if I want to do something that's very simple along these lines, I might choose those 3 notes and, oh, let's say those 2 notes. So now I have something that if I add it all up, if I look at the notes together, is really a G major pentatonic sound. And everybody knows pentatonics are just fantastic. We can play all of those notes. We can play them in any shape we'd like, and they'll sound fantastic. So here we are with the triad and with the dyad with 2 notes. And I'll just do a little alternating hands 2 over 3. There's my 3. Here's my 2. I'll do them at the same time. You can hear a 6-note pattern. You don't really hear a melody though, do you? And it's because I'm not alternating hands. Let's alternate the hands. Again, this is a cinematic or underscoring sound that's terrific. To make it more pianistic, I might move the right hand around. Now, one thing I'm fascinated by is modal shifts when I'm in place. So this simple G triad and E and A dyad could be shifted to another key just by simply moving 1 or 2 of those notes. And I can get, like, say, go into B flat major. So here I'm in G major, very much a G major pentatonic sound. And if I went into B flat major, the B would become B flat and the E would become E flat. So now I have a very different texture. Let's hear those 2 textures playing against each other. First, the G major texture, and then the G minor. Let's go to A flat major. So what I did was I made a shift so that all the notes that I played are now from the A flat major scale, B flat in the A flat major scale, D flat, G, and then the E is flat and the A is flat. This became this. I've actually raised the key level up by a half step. I went from G major to A flat major, but if you listen to the sound, it sounds like I'm descending, doesn't it? it's because the B flat at the bottom makes it sound like a B flat Dorian. Well, in any case, I'm just fascinated by this kind of thing. And of course, these simple interference of periodicity patterns aren't the only thing that, can be interesting like this. Stealing from Philip Glass's 2-against-3 patterns, well, where he'll do something quite, simple, like 2 notes, but rethink them as a group of 3, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You hear that? 3? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The accent first falls on the bottom note and then on the top. And then I'll put a little something against that. Maybe those 2 notes there. So this is an F minor sound, and it's going to be 2 against 3. But a much more saturated sound. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's go to D major, just for giggles. F minor, D major. It's a big change, isn't it? F minor, D major. There's no D there, but I changed all the notes to fit into D major. F minor, D major, I love that 3 against 2 as well. So interlocking hands don't always have to be individual notes, although it's fun and you get melodies out of them when you do it. They can be block chords as well. And when you get block chords, you again get a really saturated sound. So let's go back to our G major triad that we were using before. And I think we had this dyad against it, but I'll tell you what, let's try an A minor triad against a G triad. I might change that a little bit. Like if I just keep the G triad and go to A minor, I've got 6 notes out of the G major scale. It's a modally saturated sound. I was just changing inversions of the G and A minor triads, and you heard it building up the piano, creating a lot of energy and intensity. And this is something that's really effective for drama scenes or in the background of something. And we'll just say this. So for many years now, jazz musicians and film composers have used very saturated chords. They've added sevenths, ninths, 11ths, and 13ths to ordinary sonorities and made those chords move fluidly outside the conventional tonic-dominant relationships. And those are hard chords to manage because they have a lot of energy. But one way to approach it is to be flexible in just the way that we were doing, where individual notes within the texture move just a little bit to create a new sonority. I'm also really aware of how distortion on electric guitars and just in general the harmonic saturation that we get from tape and other kinds of crunchy fuzz pedals and things like that are doing something very similar. Adding overtones is like adding extra notes, right? We know this. Those extra notes in the overtone series are part of maybe an unconscious, but a very real sonority. And we can get those dense sonorities on piano by crunching things down a little bit. It's not unusual now for a pianist to say G major. Okay, I'm going to play it like that. This is not an unusual G major chord for me in a jazz situation. 7, 1, 9, 6, or 13, right? And I can turn that dominant in any number of ways. These are fairly conventional jazz chords, versions of jazz chords now. And doing it with two hands can be an awful lot of fun. Well, let's actually push something through here now and do a circle of fifths exercise. Let's say I have these two notes, D and G, and these two notes, C and A. And I'll do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 2 against that. If I change keys and go around the circle of fifths, the first thing I'm going to go to is, let's say, G major. There's no F, so nothing really changes. But when I go to D major, C becomes sharp. Are you with me? Now it's time to go from D major to A, and the G becomes sharp. Things are getting wacky. It's fascinating now, right? When I go from A major to, okay, so the sound is, that's a pretty dense sound. When I go from A major to E major, the D becomes D sharp. When I go from E major to B major, the A becomes A sharp. And now I'm on black keys a half step up. And this is a fascinating sort of, I guess I'll just say, practice. Now I'm a half step up from where I started. And I just basically was shifting from key to key. I went from C to G to D to A to B, sorry, to E to B. I went around the circle of fifths, so almost halfway. Well, interlocking hands can be a very powerful tool for you. And as you start practicing it, you'll find, I don't know, it can be a little bit challenging. When I began practicing this, and I showed this in my exercise video, how I practiced interlocking hands that I did last week or the week before, I started with something very simple. Like, what if I played these three notes against these two? It's super easy to visualize because it's all right in front of me. And I can go 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now it's a very dense sound, I'll give you that, but it's easy to do. And let's drum it. If that's comfortable, move to 3, say here, or maybe here, let's do it here. 3 notes and 4 notes. Again, I'm not using my thumbs. The thumbs are the 600-pound gorilla of the hand, and they get in the way a lot. So I'm not using my thumbs. You can hear the pattern repeating, I think, right? So what if instead of jamming everything together chromatically, we expanded it to simple, beautiful, easy sounding chords? So I'm going to do those 4 notes, A minor 7, and these 3 notes, B minor triad. Let's go to A major. Well, I hope this has been useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is music theory, but it's not the kind of music theory you'll find on any test usually. But I think it's a really crucial idea. Interlocking hands, interlocking patterns, modal saturation, or Diatonic or chromatic or any system you'd care to use. Saturation, where 6, 7 notes of the scale are present, almost all at once. Beautiful sonorities, really cinematic and also sort of lovely in a great way. Well, like I said, like and subscribe. Ding the bell to be notified when I do my videos, and I'll see you guys next time.